Welcome to another episode of Unlocking the Mind Behind Make More, Work Less. Hi, my name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on Unlocking the Mind, we talk about another cognitive bias. And the reason why I have this show is so we can better understand how our minds work, how we can make better decisions and build better relationships, and sometimes even avoid certain cognitive traps. Today's cognitive bias, well, I'm going to ask you a question first. What comes after 2, 4, 6, blank? I'll also tell you that it has a very specific sequencing to it. So what is the next number? Well, if you're saying it's 8 or 8 or 8, well, you're actually wrong. And I'll tell you why. Because you are following a congruency bias, the congruency bias. Now, what exactly is the congruency bias? Well, that is the tendency to over-rely on testing your initial hypothesis without testing a different hypothesis or a different scenario. We tend to really like to think about one aspect and keep on testing that aspect to prove that we are correct in that aspect. Whereas we don't think of another alternative or ask certain questions to see if that hypothesis is actually going to be congruent or applicable to other questions as well. So I'll get back to the 2, 4, 6 questions very soon. If somebody said, well, you know what, all successful people are successful because they are persistent, they are very patient, and they also like cheese. Well, somebody who wants to go around asking this question to successful people, they'll go, so, successful person, are you persistent? Are you patient? Do you eat cheese? Okay, good, check, check, check. And you go ask another successful people, do you eat cheese? Check. Are you persistent? Check. Are you patient? Check. And you keep on doing that and going, you know what? Based on all my survey and all my questions to all these successful people, they all like cheese, they all are persistent, and they all are patient. So therefore, that must be true. All successful people are people who are patient, persistent, and also like cheese. Well, why not even ask that question to people who may or may not be successful? Have you thought about that? What if you go to a homeless person and go, hey, are you persistent? Well, in certain aspect, yeah, they are persistent because they're persistent in finding food to eat. Well, are you patient? Well, they probably have to be patient too because they may not have food all the time. And finally, do you like cheese? Well, of course, they'll eat cheese whenever they can get their hands on it. So does that mean that they too are successful? Well, no, not necessarily, but we're not asking those questions. We're not looking at an alternative to the question we're asking or to the criteria we're asking. We're falling into the congruency bias. And the thing is, lots of us are willing to go and ask those questions because we want to have the answers fulfill or support the hypothesis that we came up to at the beginning. So when we say, what comes after 2, 4, 6? We might say 8, 10, 12, because we know it's plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. But we're not asking any questions. We're not asking an alternative pattern that may or may not be there. And that's what we like to do. We don't ask those questions. So the thing is, when I go, hey, there's a very specific sequence in this 2, 4, 6, it might just be in ascending order. It could be 7, it could be 9, it could be 10. It will still fit in that pattern because it's ascending order. So it's not necessarily just 2, 4, 6, 8 because there's a different pattern there. But you're assuming it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 because we want to find every scenario that fits that example. So the thing is, we're having that failure to consider alternative hypotheses. So how do we go against this? How do we prevent ourselves from falling into this congruency bias? How do we stop ourselves from just focusing on that one hypothesis or that one scenario? Well, number one is we need to ask the question of what is the possibility of this being true if we assume that it's false? And then 2, think of other alternatives. Ask yourself, what if? Ask yourself, how about this? How about that? And by doing that, by asking yourselves more questions, by trying to look at things at a different perspective, we're able to come up with different hypotheses or different alternatives. Another thing we can do is ask other people, what do you think? What do you think about the scenario? What do you think is also possible? And by bringing different perspectives in, by bringing different mindsets in, we're able to expand on that and not fall into the congruency bias trap. So that is the congruency bias. And if you like this episode, please go back and watch some of my other episodes on unlocking the mind. And if you like this show on unlocking the mind, please go and take a look at our Peak Potential Success show, the Mastermind Bites, and also the Make More Mind Bites that goes up every single week on this channel. So please like, subscribe, and comment. I love seeing your comments, and I thank you very much for all your support. So until next time, today is the day to unlock your potential. We'll see you later.